Get ready to uncover the hidden side of one of Hollywood's greatest stars, because today we're going to reveal the untold truth about Doris Day, the actress who captivated the world with her flawless image, charming smile, and an almost untouchable aura of purity, yet who concealed far darker realities behind the scenes than you might imagine. Behind America's Sweetheart, there were betrayals, shocking financial manipulations, turbulent relationships, and decisions that completely changed the course of her life. How did one of the highest-paid women in cinema end up nearly bankrupt? Who was really in control of her career and her fortune? And why, at the peak of her success, did she simply disappear from the spotlight? Throughout this video, we'll dive into stories Hollywood preferred to keep silent, from financial scandals involving her own husband to uncomfortable truths about the industry that turned her into an icon. But be warned, the final revelation could completely change the way you see Doris Day forever. Before we continue, make sure to leave a like. It helps YouTube understand that you want more content like this and allows the channel to grow, bringing you even more impactful stories. And subscribe now so you don't miss any detail of these revelations you'll hardly find anywhere else. And I want to know, what has surprised you the most about her life so far? Leave your comment below, because your opinion is essential to this discussion. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might leave you speechless. The story of Doris Day's childhood is far deeper and more complex than the light and charming image the public came to know over the decades, and understanding this beginning is essential to grasp how a dreamy young girl ended up becoming one of Hollywood's greatest icons. Born on April 3, 1922, in Cincinnati, Ohio, under the name Doris Mary Ann Kappelhoff, she grew up in a family environment that, at first glance, seemed ordinary, but which concealed emotional tensions and challenges that would profoundly shape her development. Her father, a music teacher and conductor, and her mother, a homemaker, had an unstable relationship, and this instability eventually led to a separation that shook the family structure during Doris's early years, leaving her with a constant sense of insecurity and a deep need for affection. From a young age, Doris showed a sensitive, observant, and energetic personality, finding in the arts a form of expression and refuge from the emotional difficulties she experienced at home. However, her first great passion was not cinema or music, but dance, and she dedicated herself intensely to this dream, training with discipline and enthusiasm while imagining a bright future on stage as a professional dancer. Dance represented not only a career for her, but also a way to escape family tensions and build her own identity, far from the conflicts she witnessed. Everything seemed to be moving in that direction until an unexpected event abruptly and almost cruelly changed the course of her life. Still a teenager, Doris suffered a serious car accident that resulted in severe injuries to her right leg, forcing her to spend long months in recovery. This moment was undoubtedly one of the most difficult of her youth, as it marked the end of her greatest dream at the time, leaving her emotionally shaken and without a clear sense of direction for the future. For a young girl who had placed all her hopes in dance, coping with this loss was extremely painful, bringing feelings of frustration, sadness, and uncertainty. However, it was precisely during this period of recovery that something unexpected began to emerge within her, almost as if it were a response from fate to the adversities she was facing. Encouraged by her mother, Doris began to explore music, especially singing, as a way to occupy her time and ease the emotional burden of recovery. What initially seemed like a simple distraction soon revealed an impressive natural talent, capable of moving and captivating anyone who heard her. Gradually, she devoted herself more and more to music, finding in this new passion not only a professional alternative, but also a way to rebuild her self-esteem and rediscover a sense of purpose. This turning point was crucial, as it marked the beginning of a new path that, although different from her original dream, would prove to be even more extraordinary. Even so, it is important to remember that this transition did not happen easily or instantly, as Doris had to face not only the physical limitations imposed by the accident, but also the emotional challenge of accepting that her life had taken a completely different direction from what she had planned. Throughout this process, her relationship with her mother became even more significant, as she was the one who offered support, encouragement, and guidance, helping Doris see new possibilities amid the pain. On the other hand, her father's emotional absence and the scars left by the family separation continued to influence the way she related to the world, contributing to a constant search for stability and security that would shape her future choices. Over time, Doris began performing at small events and on local radio, taking the first steps in a career that was still far from reaching the brilliance it would later achieve, but already showed her immense potential. Her soft voice, combined with a captivating presence, quickly caught the attention of musicians and producers, opening doors she could never have imagined before the accident. This beginning was essential because it established a foundation of connection with the audience that did not rely solely on visual image, but on a sense of closeness and authenticity, something that would later be heavily exploited by film studios. When she made the transition to Hollywood, especially with the support of Warner Brothers, Doris Day entered a highly structured system known as the studio system, where actors were carefully shaped to fit archetypes that sold well to the public, and it was precisely in this context that the image of the perfect woman she would represent for decades began to take form. Unlike other actresses of the time who were promoted as symbols of intense sensuality or mystery, Doris was positioned as a reliable, cheerful, and morally safe presence, someone the audience could admire without any discomfort, directly reflecting the conservative values that dominated post-war American society. Films like Calamity Jane helped solidify her image as a strong yet approachable and charming woman, while later productions such as Pillow Talk reinforced a specific type of romantic comedy in which her character was witty, somewhat independent, yet always aligned with a traditional view of relationships and female behavior. What is particularly interesting is that this construction did not happen by chance. It was the result of strategic decisions by studios, agents, and producers who recognized a gap in the market for a female figure who could convey purity without being overly naive, and charm without being considered too provocative, thus creating a carefully calculated balance that made Doris Day stand out uniquely among her contemporaries. However, this perfect image also came with significant limitations, because while it ensured box office success and widespread popularity, it restricted her opportunities to explore more complex or daring roles, something the actress herself would later acknowledge in interviews, admitting that she often did not fully identify with the characters she portrayed. Even so, the public saw Doris Day as an extension of the role she played, which demonstrates just how effective this image-building process was, as her public persona became intertwined with her personal identity, creating an extremely strong emotional connection with fans around the world. At the same time, her voice remained a central element of her artistic identity, with songs that reinforced this image of lightness and romance, contributing to a multifaceted career that moved harmoniously between music and film. Yet it is impossible to discuss this phase without mentioning the contrast between her public image and the reality behind the scenes, because while the audience saw a confident, happy woman in control of her life, the truth was far more complex, marked by insecurities, professional pressures, and decisions that were often beyond her control, especially within a system that prioritized commercial results over the individual well-being of artists. It is precisely this contrast that makes her story so compelling, as it reveals how the idea of perfection can, in fact, be a carefully maintained construction that requires constant effort to prevent it from unraveling in the face of the natural imperfections of real life. From a very young age, Doris Day had her first experiences with troubled relationships, and this ultimately influenced the way she became emotionally involved throughout her life. Her first marriage took place while she was still a teenager, to Al Jordan, a musician who, according to the actress herself, was extremely jealous and controlling. This relationship quickly turned toxic, involving episodes of emotional and physical abuse, something Doris only revealed many years later, when she had more freedom to speak about her past. During this marriage, she became pregnant with her only son, Terry Melcher, and she later reported that she suffered assaults even during her pregnancy, making this period one of the most delicate and traumatic of her life. The separation became inevitable, but the emotional scars remained for a long time, influencing her confidence and her future choices. After this difficult first marriage, Doris tried to rebuild her love life with George Weidler, her second husband, but this union also did not succeed. Although less violent than the first, the relationship was unstable and full of incompatibilities, leading to a relatively quick separation. This pattern of problematic relationships was beginning to repeat itself, showing that despite her professional success, her personal life was marked by uncertainty and complicated choices. However, it was with her third husband, Martin Melcher, that Doris experienced the most impactful and also the most controversial relationship of her entire life. At first glance, Melcher seemed to be the ideal partner, attentive, involved in her career, and willing to help her grow even further in Hollywood. He took on an active role in managing her career, becoming not only her husband but also a central figure in her professional decisions. For years, she trusted him completely, believing she was being protected and guided by someone who wanted the best for her. However, that trust was brutally shattered after Melcher's death in 1968. It was at that moment that Doris discovered a shocking reality: her fortune had been virtually wiped out. Melcher, together with his business partner Jerome Rosenthal, had made disastrous financial decisions, in many cases without her consent or knowledge. Moreover, he had signed contracts in Doris's name, committing her to projects she had never approved, including the famous television series The Doris Day Show. What is most striking is that she only became aware of these obligations after her husband's death, forcing her to work to fulfill contracts she had never authorized, all while dealing with grief and the shock of financial betrayal. This episode was devastating, not only because of the economic impact, but especially due to the breach of trust. Doris always described this moment as one of the most difficult of her life, as she realized she had been manipulated by someone she deeply trusted. This kind of betrayal shook her view of relationships and reinforced a sense of caution and distrust. Even so, years later, she decided to marry again, this time to Barry Comden, her fourth husband. This relationship differed from the previous ones in some aspects, but it was still not free of problems. Comden was a businessman and maitre d', and the marriage began promisingly, with Doris seeking stability and tranquility after so many negative experiences. However, conflicts emerged related to lifestyle, especially because Comden did not share the same level of dedication to animal causes, which had already become a central priority in Doris's life. In addition, there were differences in personality and expectations that gradually wore down the relationship over time. The marriage ended after a few years, once again reinforcing the pattern of relationships that failed to endure in the long term. What is most intriguing is that, despite so many difficult relationships, Doris Day never completely lost her belief in love. In interviews, she mentioned that she always entered her marriages with genuine hope that they would last, but over time she realized that she often ignored warning signs because she wanted to believe the best in people. This honesty in speaking about her own choices revealed a deeply human side of the actress, far removed from the perfection the public was accustomed to seeing. Over the years, she also commented that she often felt pressured to maintain a flawless public image, which included not exposing the personal struggles she faced. As a result, many of her pains were endured in silence, far from the spotlight. As time went on, Doris came to value her independence and emotional peace more than the idea of being in a relationship. By the end of the 1970s, already emotionally exhausted and financially more stable, Doris Day made the conscious decision to withdraw from public life, something rare for a star of her magnitude. Unlike many artists who try to remain relevant at any cost, she chose to prioritize her inner peace and well-being, even if it meant giving up fame and the constant attention of the public. Her move to Carmel by the Sea symbolized this new phase, a quieter life, surrounded by nature, far from the pressure of studios, the media, and the demands of the industry. In this new chapter, Doris found a purpose that seemed more aligned with her personal values, animal welfare. Passionate about animals since her youth, she began dedicating much of her time and resources to the cause, founding the Doris Day Animal Foundation, an organization focused on animal well-being. This involvement was not superficial or merely symbolic. She was deeply engaged, actively participating in initiatives and using her influence to promote real change. This transition from movie star to activist can also be seen as a form of identity reconstruction, in which she finally had the autonomy to choose how she wanted to be seen and remembered. Despite her reclusive lifestyle, Doris never completely disappeared from the public radar. From time to time, she gave interviews or made occasional appearances, but always in a controlled manner and on her own terms. On these rare occasions, she showed a more sincere and direct attitude, reflecting on her career with a mix of gratitude and criticism. She did not hide the fact that many aspects of her life in Hollywood were difficult, and she often emphasized how manipulative the industry could be, especially toward artists who did not have full control over their finances and professional decisions. Even so, she avoided a bitter tone, preferring to focus on the lessons learned and the importance of moving forward. Her personal life during this period was also marked by moments of joy and sorrow. One of the most painful events was the loss of her son, Terry Melcher, in 2004, a successful music producer with whom she had a very close relationship. This loss had a profound impact on Doris, further reinforcing her preference for a private life away from public exposure. Even in the face of this grief, she remained involved in her causes and maintained a peaceful routine, surrounded by close friends and her beloved animals. Over the years, her public image underwent a kind of re-evaluation. While she had once been seen primarily as America's sweetheart, with a sweet and almost naive persona, her life story came to be recognized as that of a strong, resilient woman capable of overcoming significant adversity. Her decision to step away from the spotlight began to be interpreted not as a disappearance, but as an act of courage and self-awareness, something not everyone is able to achieve in an environment as competitive and demanding as Hollywood. In her final years, Doris Day lived a phase that many consider the most authentic of her entire journey, marked by tranquility, introspection, and an almost complete withdrawal from the spotlight that once made her one of Hollywood's greatest icons. after decades dealing with industry pressures, difficult relationships, and even unexpected financial losses, she consciously chose a simpler path. Far from the demands of fame, settling primarily in Carmel by the Sea, a place that perfectly reflected the serene lifestyle she sought, and there she began to dedicate much of her time to causes that truly mattered to her, especially animal protection, something that became a true personal mission and ultimately deeply defined her legacy beyond the screen, creating and supporting initiatives such as the Doris Day Animal Foundation, which remains active to this day and helps animals in vulnerable situations, showing that her influence went far beyond entertainment and achieved a concrete and lasting social impact, something she may not even have imagined when she began her career as a singer and actress decades earlier. During this more private period, Doris also maintained limited contact with the media, giving few interviews, but when she did speak, she displayed a disarming sincerity, often reflecting on her life with a mixture of gratitude and a certain melancholy, acknowledging the highs and lows she had faced, from stardom to moments of deep personal disappointment, especially related to her marriages and the financial betrayal she endured, and these reflections helped the public see her in a more human light, less as the perfect figure constructed by Hollywood and more as someone who had faced real challenges, contributing to a re-evaluation of her image over time. Despite her choice to live a more private life, the public's affection for her never faded, and over the years she continued to be honored for her contributions to film and music, receiving important awards and recognitions, including the Presidential Medal of Freedom, one of the highest civilian honors in the United States, which symbolized not only her artistic importance but also her cultural impact, and these recognitions served as a kind of late redemption, especially considering that at the height of her career she often did not receive the critical recognition she deserved, being seen more as a commercial star than as a complete artist, something that, over time, was reassessed by critics and historians. Her daily life, away from the cameras, was surprisingly simple. She enjoyed walking, caring for her animals, and spending time with close friends, avoiding large public events and preferring more intimate settings, which strongly contrasted with the glamorous image many still associated with her, and this choice reinforces the idea that in her final years, Doris Day found a way of living that was finally aligned with who she truly was, without the need to meet the external expectations that had shaped much of her life. When she passed away in 2019 at the age of 97, the global reaction was immediate and deeply emotional, with fans, celebrities, and critics paying tribute, highlighting not only her talent but also her resilience and ability to reinvent herself, and many remembered that behind the iconic smile and the girl next door image, there was a woman who had faced significant hardships and still managed to maintain her essence and dignity, which made her story even more inspiring. Doris Day's legacy is therefore multifaceted. In cinema, she remains one of the greatest stars of Hollywood's golden age, with performances that continue to captivate new generations. In music, her soft and captivating voice is still remembered as one of the most distinctive of the 20th century, and beyond the arts, her work in animal advocacy continues to impact lives in a tangible way, creating a legacy that goes far beyond entertainment, and perhaps it is precisely this combination of professional success, personal challenges, and commitment to greater causes that makes her story so fascinating and relevant to this day, as it represents not only the brilliance of fame but also the search for authenticity and meaning amid the complexities of life, something many people can relate to regardless of time or context. As we reach the end of this journey, it becomes clear that the story of Doris Day goes far beyond the sweet and flawless image the public saw on screen for decades. Behind the charming smile and brilliant career, there was a woman who faced deep challenges, lived through difficult relationships, endured painful losses, and still found the strength to reinvent herself and build a legacy that goes beyond film and music. Her life shows us that not everything is as it seems in Hollywood, and that even the greatest icons carry complex stories filled with ups and downs, difficult decisions, and moments of resilience. Perhaps that is exactly what makes her journey so fascinating and inspiring, the ability to keep moving forward even when everything seemed to be falling apart. If you've made it this far, be sure to leave a like, because that helps YouTube understand that this kind of content is relevant and allows more people to discover incredible stories like this. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. This is essential for growth, as it helps the algorithm recommend our videos to more people, allowing the channel to continue bringing you better and deeper content. Now I want to hear from you. What part of Doris Day's life surprised you the most? Was it her personal life, the behind-the-scenes of Hollywood, or the way she chose to live away from the spotlight? Leave your comment below, because your opinion is very important and helps enrich this conversation even more. And if you enjoy real, intense stories full of twists like this, stay tuned to the channel, because we still have many more surprising stories to tell. See you in the next video?